of the institutions and social responsibility of the business. This is so local empowerment. So in this way, we can see that local empowerment is the empowerment of local community. Development means empowerment. Is giving the community more and more power on their destiny, on their future. So this is what is local development. I understood after some experience and also after some studies. So my what I'm trying to share with you, it is not only based on the scholarly study of different scholars, what they have said, what they have written. It is mixed. It is partly a scholarly exploration, but largely it is my own experience. I have been a planner. I have worked, helped the local governments. Sometimes I have myself planned indirectly, some on behalf of some local government or local industry. And so this is a practical experience as well as some scholarly exercise. That's what is my conclusion about. So at the local population level, what means the capacity development then? If local development is empowerment and capacity and empowerment, then what means how the capacity development is done? It is a systematic. So how you measure people are capable, how you know that there is empowerment in the community. It is not important how much they earn, how much is their per capita income, how big buildings are there. These are less important. There are many countries with big buildings. Look at Dubai. But do you think that Dubai, you can call it a local development example? There's a lot of cash injection from top to down, top to bottom. There's no bottom up approach. There's no empowerment. It's only everybody's using the context to make the money. So this is not local development. It is the empowerment of the local community. Their capacity development means how their vulnerability, the vulnerability means their delicacy, their weakness, how their riskiness and weakness is reduced gradually. Of course, the totally human vulnerability may not be reduced. Like here, we are in a very developed area of the northern Italy, but we're all blocked. We're all very much at home, like house arrest. We cannot move. We cannot do. But at the same time, the our capacity to reduce that by being able to buy something, to get some medical facilities. So this reduction, the systematic reduction of human vulnerability, is what is about capacity development. Less people are vulnerable, less people are helpless, less people are weak, then it is more capacity is developed and more empowerment and this can be achieved by a long-term commitment. So the planning, a business local development project planning, making projects or making planning of economic development planning must be addressing, we have a long-term commitment. It is not just once in a while as a big injection of a cash, a huge construction effort, or a massive investment. They are not going to work to reduce the human vulnerability and to improve people's capacity and to empower the community. So for the systematic reduction, a long-term commitment needed to what are the insecurities, the long term in thinking about what are the individuals and families insecurity, their financial insecurity, job, income, pension, retirement benefit, other subsidies, and the physical insecurity. That is the dangers they may face in the public health issue, or if the area is very much accident prone. So there are financial and physical insecurity reduction. Physical insecurity also is crime. Is also it is insecurity of the property and persons. So here again, we have to see more there is insecurity, less there is freedom, and less there is choice. More we have financial and physical security, we improve. So this is what is designing. So the planner or the project designer must have a long-term commitment a long-term view, a long-range thinking about how to reduce what can be the physical insecurity, what can be the financial insecurity, and how to reduce that. Where there is the shortage of options, individual choice and freedom, where there are the facilities are weaker, infrastructures and when the institutions, public offices, government, local government are not able to respond. They do what they like, and they don't listen what the people say. So this sustained effort to reduce the human vulnerability is the core element of development project design. Not only economic growth, please, nor the volume of market transactions. How much trade do? How many visitors come? Now look at. I can give you an example. Venice, Venezia in Italy, is a very particular, very unique place. Some of you might have even visited, or you will even visit in the. It's unique. It's a UNESCO heritage. It's a beautiful town built on the road, on the water. There are no roads. Everything is connected by the bridge. There are canals. The roads are liquid there. The streets are all liquid. There. And 25 million people every year visit that place in the normal times. Now in the epidemic, so nobody's there. But 25 million people. So you can imagine the economic transaction, the business for the bar, for the restaurants, hotel, transportation, other services, but they are not happy. And the many people are leaving. The local Venetian people are very few now. They have been ripped because prices have gone up. They have been financially insecure. Even if the business is very big, so it is not the volume of market transaction. It is not the economic growth that make the people more empowered, or the community more empowered, or the capacity develop. So economic growth and market volume do not necessarily translate into local capacity improvement, as exemplified by many outlying towns and villages, even in many resource-rich countries of Latin America, in Central Asia, Persian Arabian Gulf region, China, even in Russia and in the United States, also in Europe. That there are so many cases of very developed places, but local community powerless. So we must look at the complex social and institutional aspects that determine the local capacity or vulnerability, where they are capable, where they are vulnerable, what are the insecurities, how much options and freedom of choice, of enterprise, of entrepreneurship, of professions are there available. So physical infrastructures, market dynamism, and economic growth are necessary, but alone they are not sufficient to achieve local capacity development, local human vulnerability reduction, and empowerment of the community. Empowerment of the local community is local development. The local development is empowerment of the local community. Now, once we have cleared that, I am giving you a list. This note was prepared in a very hurry. Please excuse me. I have not been able to find Russian scholars because I don't read Russian, but maybe you should look for that. Maybe there are some interesting things. And then if you look and find, please, if you think that there's something also in English written by or French or Spanish or Italian by the Russian author, please let me know. I will include also that in the bibliography. But here you have some of this bibliography. There are some books I have myself written, like for example this thing. This is a rethinking development after disaster. Notes on the fourth earthquake reconstruction planning in the Central America. I was involved in the planning of after the earthquake. So before the earthquake, big earthquake in Nepal, the development was a concept of economic growth. Now, we saw that how much it created problems. It was the helplessness of the people was completely forgotten. So then it was written about that. So here again, this is another place that I worked in the former Soviet Union once, long time back. I was involved in a local development planning in the Republic of Armenia. That was once part of the Soviet Union. Interesting place in the southern Caucasus. And so there I made some work, and then this is an oral article about how a place can excel as a brand. So it is how a place, with the improvement of their social environmental standard by the community empowerment. So this is this thing. And here again, you will find I have done some work in Italy about the industrial decline. Some of the industries of Italy, in some area in the northern Italy, the big industries started to fail because the globalization, because the interdependence. In the supply chain, many people found it easier and cheaper to produce in China. So many people left, many investment went to China. And then they would go and produce in China and bring it back to the Italian market. So job will be created in China, but the market will be created in Europe. And in this way, there was an industrial decline and this unemployment. And now how this decline can be addressed by local community development. And this is again something that I worked on. And the other was the long time back when China was beginning to develop very fast. Long time back, I visited China for almost 3 months as a scholar, and I made some studies on China's villages, and the development was going more and more interior. In the beginning, the special economic zones of China, they were more on the eastern coast, southeastern coast, from Beijing downward, Shanghai, and then Fujian, and then Shenzhen, all those area, the eastern coastline of China, that became developed. And in the 90s, in the late 90s, they started to more and more penetrate, industrial development penetrate inside China, in the more rural areas. And the more technology was introduced. So I made a study on that, on China's villages, rural industries, and technological development. So these are some of the things based on my own research that I'm sharing with you. Now let's go, after this basic definition and introduction, now let's go to the slides. Here we have this. Can you see the slides? Can you see the slides?
Now we see only the word summary, and we are waiting your slides.
Don't see the slides?
No, now it's only your summary.
Okay, now I will close the summary.
Oh, yeah. Now something changing.
A slide.
We are waiting.
Okay.
Let's do it once again.
Is it okay now? The
1
slide
minute because we are waiting. 1 minute because we are waiting. We see only the black desk. We are waiting your slides. Now it's not.
The slide is I seen it. Maybe it's some problems with internet, but now the first slide is here.
Can you see the slide?
You can see it, yeah?
Yes. I'm seated.
Hi.
Hi.
Can you see the slide now?
I'm asking our students. Falareva, did you see slides?
Hello, good morning. Yes, of course, I see all slides.
All right.
Okay.
Everybody is seeing the slide?
Yes.
I'm not, but,
yes,
but I have the
all students see all slides. Don't worry about this.
Yes, I'm now also see. Yes. Let's start.
I am also. Yeah. Now look, sustainable local development project design, that is, I told you, it is a long-term commitment of understanding the local risk, local vulnerability, local weakness, financial and physical insecurity, and to reduce that and to empower that. This is what is my idea of local development. Now, how you design, that was the introduction note. Now, how you do it, how is the practice? If you are a planner, if you have to plan, and if you help a government, or if you help a group of industries that they want a local development, how do you do that? So this is now is a more practical part. I'm working on that part. Now let's see the second slide. It is, first of all, development means it must be sustainable. This is very important. Sustainability means long-term and most economically viable, morally acceptable, socially digestible development. Something that doesn't create any kind of trauma that doesn't create cost and burden for the future. It is not only enjoying today, it is also enjoying today, tomorrow, the day after tomorrow. And it's not only for the current generation, it is also for the future generation. So it is the sustainability, it means it is very important. The local development must be sustainable. And the sustainability, let's try to understand the meaning. Everybody is using that. I don't know how to say it in Russian, but here in the Western languages, sustainable. Now everybody talks about sustainable development. It's very fashionable now, but many people don't think what is the real meaning of it. And in 1997, when I was a full-time professor in a university here in the economics and management school, and then some of my former students, or some of those who are graduating master students, and they told, why don't we introduce sustainability? But I used to tell them about sustainability, but there was no any course about sustainability. There was no research center. And then we created the very first group of sustainable studies center was established by me and my former students. So we have the record that is the first sustainable economic studies center we created. So we went right from the beginning. We are 20 years ago when it was not fashionable. In 2000, it became official. In 1997, we started working on it. And the rector of our university of that time, in 2000, he accepted our proposal and we established a center for sustainable economic studies. Here, sustainability in the Western languages come in English from the Middle Age English, medieval English, sustainen, which is connected with the very old medieval French soutenir, and that again comes from the Italian sustinere, which again on the root of it is the Latin, old classical language of the Romans, which was made by two words, sub tenere. Sub means below, from below, tenere to hold. So, it's like holding from below. That is holding from below. If you don't hold, something falls down. It is holding. That means keep in existence, to maintain, to supply nourishment, to support from below. So what is the implication of this concept? That sustainability is not natural. If leaving the things as they are, they don't automatically become sustainable. You have to make an effort. There is some deliberation is needed. An intentional, a deliberate attempt is needed for sustainability. Nothing sustains by itself. Of course, the big, huge, massive nature like the Amazon forest or forests of Borneo, where the human interaction has been very little, only in the marginal. And then if you leave it alone, of course, it sustains itself. But wherever there is a human system, human ecological, economic interaction, and in that case, sustainability becomes a deliberate, conscious effort. You have to take care of the forest. You have to take care of the river. You have to take care of the soil. You have to take care of the society, take care of the road. So you must be always conscious. So it is a dynamic quest to preclude disruption. It's not perfection. It's not automatic. It's nothing about perfection. It's a dynamic quest. You try all the time how you can avoid the risk, how you can preclude, you can prevent discontinuity of the system. So discontinuity of a system, preventing that is about sustainability. So sustainable economy is a controlled transformation and management of change in an economic system. It's with a maximum concern for the needs of present, with the minimization of the cost and burden for the future. This sustainability. Now, officially, the sustainability has been defined mostly now officially. The European Union, the World Bank, the United Nations Development Program, every country, international governments, the development goals, sustainable development goals of the United Nations, they all are based on the triple bottom line concept. The triple bottom line concept means it must be economically, financially viable. It must be not against the job. It must be not against it is not creating too much of debt. So it shouldn't be a financial and economic unviability. And the second thing is environment and landscape quality. So it should be environmentally safe. It shouldn't be toxic. Shouldn't be ugly. Shouldn't be the natural stock of natural resources shouldn't be compromised. There must be quality and quantity of the natural resources must be available, or must be kept available also for the future generations. And then social equity or human security. And this will be some basic fair distribution of opportunities, of income, wealth in a society. So this is what they call AAA bottom line, the equity, economy, environment. So the so-called AAA bottom line, 3A, equity is social equity, and economic and environment. So this is all the basic concept model on which our common world's idea about an international, national, official concept of sustainability is based on. But I don't completely agree with that. This is the point. My experience has shown me a different thing. Now you see, I have traveled almost every continent except Australia, and have worked in every human ecosystem, from the tundra very far north to savanna and tropical savanna and so on. And in different my travels and work and consultancy and planning and visiting professors, I always ask, even to 5 people, even to my driver or my translator or my students or my helpers or my seniors, my superiors. So whenever I had a chance, I always ask them, what means sustainability for you? To the common people, mostly the common people in the market. What means sustainability for you? What is important for you? You know, nobody ever thinks about sustainability. Sustainability is not a conscious concept. It is not a consciously thought about. It's only in the more academic, more official, and more intellectual level that talk about conceptability. So the AAA bottom line is much more from the top, from the elite comes this line. It doesn't come from the bottom. But people have a feeling of sustainability. They don't have a concept of sustainability. So now let's try to understand how the people view what we call sustainability. Actually, what are the things that people value most in every country? Everybody has a different value, different moral, different tradition, different religion, different political system. But there are 3 things common to all, without exception. From the tribal society of the tropical savanna of Sierra Leone, where I was 4 times doing some planning job, and to the very highly industrialized and sophisticated northern Italian or German or French area. Everywhere, the common people want security. First value. Security is a big value. It's cherished by the community. And they expect some actors to implement that. And the actor is government in some cases, like for law and order, for trust, and for the supply system, security of supply. Water must come when you open the tap, the electricity provider, the energy, gas. So there's a public plus private combined. So security of supply. And they want security of the social security, is the employment, welfare. And then again, the state, the government's role is very important, and the employers, the companies or organizations that employ people, and the public health system. Again here, so here the two, you see the 2 line. On one side, the security, that is the value the people give most. And the other side, other line in the red, you see the actors whom they are expected to provide that value, to articulate that value, to implement that value. So security is expected from government, from public-private suppliers, for employers, a public health system, and so on. And then second thing is fairness. In many societies, people in basically many economists, modern economists, think about 2 things. 2 concepts are very, very common in modern economics. One is growth, and the second is equality. Some are giving more importance to growth, some giving more importance to equality. But actually people don't care about neither growth nor the equality. Nobody bothers about growth so much as the intellectuals bother about, or the governments or actually people, common worker, common entrepreneur, common artisan, farmer, a housewife, they want fairness, not equality, or not only growth, fairness. This must be fair play. This must be justice. There must be, and people shouldn't be punished. This must be meritocracy. The leadership should give an example, of coherent example. In a company where the top is earning a lot and the bottom is earning just to survive, is unfair. And that unfairness makes the people revolt against, or silent revolt. That means damaging, or not working properly, not complying properly. So in a society like, even in a very developed society, when they see the high-level politicians, high-level officers, high-level business people are giving themselves big bonus, big money, and while a simple worker, retired pensioner, has just hardly he can survive, then any chance he finds to cheat the government, to cheat the employer, he will do it. It will not be only, it is not because, in this case, the immorality is provoked by the unfairness. And that creates the system weak. The system becomes weaker. And there's no chance of going ahead and developing properly is less. So this is the cultural leadership, business leadership, states distributive justice, and that creates what you call law-abiding citizenship, the civic solidarity. People become solidarity to each other. This is forgotten. The fairness is more important than growth and equality. The complete equality is impossible, I believe, because people have unequal qualities and unequal ideas, and everything is unequal. We're all born unequal. But I believe just in the opposite of what the Voltaire, Rousseau say, or what the socialists and the communists think. That we're all born equal. It is the society that makes us, economy and society makes us unequal. Just the opposite, my friends. We're all born unequal, with unequal capacity, with unequal intellect, with unequal chance, with unequal karma. You are born in an aristocracy. He is born in a low family. He is born in a clean place. He is born in a place where there's not enough water to drink or wash. So we're all unequal. We are born unequal, but because of this born inequality, we must have a consciousness to how to mitigate this inequality, how to be fair, how to try to be distributive in justice, how to create, so the fairness is a moral and civilizational imperative. We are civilized when we accept the inequality and try to work to mitigate, try to work to eliminate the inequality, try to work to reduce the inequality. So the mitigation, the compensation, all this attempt to fairness is a conscious human drive, and that makes the local development sustainable. So it's the fairness. And the third thing that's also forgotten about is not another thing that people don't care about, the common people in any society, from the tribal society to very developed society, and neither growth nor equality nor only a lot of possession. The wellness. People want to feel well. Wellness is very interesting. It's not just richness, it's the wellness. Wellness means nice environment, walkability on the street, parks, landscape, beautiful townscape, intercultural dynamics, management of the cultural resources, festivities, processions, identity assets of the people, celebrations of life, and here, recreation, leisure, free time, sport. So there are so many things. Wellness is a huge part of our society, and it creates a very good economy as well. So it is the three basic values that we have to think as a planner in the long-term local development design: security, fairness, and wellness, because this is what the common people really worry about. And this is what translates into sustainability. And I call it the civic concept of sustainability, not just the intellectual model of sustainability. So we have to combine that, understand that, and then only we can really plan, make a local development planning properly. Am I clear? Hello? Hello?
Yes,
Yes, yes.
Professor. Yes,
Yeah?
everything is clear. Yes. Yeah, super.
All right. Can we go ahead?
Yes, of
Sure.
course. If you need if you need a little break, we may do it. If not, you may continue.
Okay. Now after this slide, I break. So
Okay.
combining. Now we have been going. We have defined what is development. What is local development? Well, try to understand. And then the most important aspect of development is the sustainability. We discussed that. And then sustainability is based, our common intellectual and official and institutional idea is based on this triple bottom line concept. While from the bottom, from the grassroots level, citizens level, consumers level, sustainability can be summarized as security, fairness, and wellness. Now, having seen all that, what is our conclusion? This is the conclusion. This is our contribution. Me and my team, we developed 15 years ago, this concept. So we call it the integral concept of sustainability. Economic, financial viability, yes. Human security and social wellness, yes. Environmental resources and quality of landscape. Here we have to define a little bit more, because people, when we are talking about environmental sustainability, is mostly people think only about environment, about the quality of air, about the quality of water, about the pollution, about the noise, and so on. But this one thing is a little bit forgotten, and that's the quality of landscape. Landscape is a visual effect, what we see and what it affects on us. And the landscape has a special effect on economy and on society. Landscape has a very big economic value. Take, for example, a villa, a beautiful bungalow or villa or a house, look with a very good structure, very good system, electricity, wiring, water facilities, toilet, everything perfect. If it is located near an ugly, rundown industrial area or abandoned mining area in the wasteland, and the same building, same quality, same house, located on a lakeside, on a beautiful hill with a nice view around, where the price will be higher? Of course, in the nice landscape. So if the product is the same, the quality and the cost of production is the same, quality of product is the same, the cost of producing the product is the same. But why the value is different? The difference between value and cost. The value is higher while the cost is the same. Product is the same, quality is the same, because the quality here is an external quality. It's the quality of context. It's not the quality of product. It's the context of the product. It's the context of the service. And that context is not your property. It's not an individual property. It's not a private property. It's not a business work. And here again, the quality of landscape is so important. It's the landscape that makes a destination. People go to see something where? Because a beautiful town or a beautiful nature, say this becomes the destination. If you become a destination, then your economic is better. If you become only a transit, people pass through you and make quickly money, and after 5 years say goodbye to you, like in Dubai, like in many other places, you are not a destination, you are a transit. A transit doesn't make local development sustainable. A destination makes local development sustainable. So we have to try to transform every locality in a destination. And for being a good destination, landscape is the most important thing, is the economy of destination. And that is the quality of landscape. And so here again, and there is a second value of the landscape, the social value. The social value of the landscape is, in a nice landscape, people don't leave the town or leave the place or the village. They remain there. There is a more social cohesion. There's more unity. There's more identity. Oh, it's my town, my area, our area. So it has a more social factor, social value. The landscape has a great social value. And then third value is cultural value. The artistic and cultural production, which also has economic value, indirectly and indirectly. The artistic and cultural production, a beautiful piece of music, a drama, a poem, a song, anything, all the cultural picture, a beautiful painting, a sculpture. Now, what is the raw material of artistic and cultural production? Where they come from? From the human mind. And what are the raw material for the human mind to produce that? Only two. One, the sentiment, human sentiments, love, anger, hate, sadness, mystery, sense of mystery, or whatever. The human sentiment, feelings, and the second, landscape. It's the landscape that provides the psycho-emotive input to produce art, to produce culture. So cultural production is based on the psychological and emotional input provided by the landscape. So it has a cultural value as well. So landscape has economic value as a destination. It has a social value as a cohesion and identification, and it has a cultural value as a production, artistic and cultural production, as an input provider, as emotional and psychic input provider. And of course, for somebody who believes in God or goddesses like me, somebody who believes in the heaven, some kind of heaven, you don't know how to define it, but in that case, it has also a fourth value, the spiritual value. It is in the nature that you feel more united with the cosmos, with the great spirit. It is in the nature, it is in the natural landscape, in the beauty of the landscape that you feel. Even a beautiful church, even if it's not nature, but it's a beautiful church or a temple or a monastery, you feel good because it is the atmosphere that creates a landscape. So the landscape has also spiritual value. Your feeling of unity, your feeling of union with the cosmos, with the heaven, is more acutely felt when you are in a beautiful landscape. So let's see. Sustainability has 4 pillars. I call it 4 pillars. Economic, financial viability, human security and wellness, we have already talked about, environmental resources and landscape, and the 4th is moral legitimacy, where it is connected with our concept of fairness, the concept of fairness. If there is no fairness, a system doesn't have a moral legitimacy. A company that has unfair practice doesn't have a moral legitimacy. So its own workers, its own suppliers, its own retailers or stakeholders don't love it. And if they don't love it, the brand is not strong. And it has the possibility of discontinuity, even though right now it may be running well, but its future is not certain. So moral legitimacy is the same with the state. You know, in Italy is a developed country where they're almost fine and so on, but I must tell you, in Italy, there are 30% of small scale economic transaction is what we may call submerged or informal. So for example, there is a plumber or a mechanic or a garden worker who comes to help you in the house and then do that, and then you pay him cash. He doesn't give you a receipt. He doesn't pay the tax. You don't pay the tax for that transaction. That this informal transaction is 30%, is calculated more or less of Italian economy. I believe that it must be so in many other societies. There's always a big chunk of the economy that is not registered, that has not official transaction, and so the taxes are not paid. The state doesn't have the revenue from that. Why? Because they're all criminal, all bad? No, my friends. Because when the society, they see that like in Italy, they see that the politicians, the parliament members, their salary is very fat. The top manager of the gas company, they're fat. but the tariff of the electricity and the gas never go down. It always go little by little up. They privatize everything in the name of liberal private economy, but the private person is not having any benefit. And then at the same time, they see that people are having, some people having very good high standard of pension, some people giving very low pension. Then they think, they feel licensed to cheat. There is a license to cheat. Okay, it's okay. So they don't feel any sin. They don't feel any guilt because the system does not have moral legitimacy. So if you want economy strong, a local economy to be sustainable, then you must have some kind of moral legitimacy. If you want a business organization to have sustainable, more certainty about its future, and the moral legitimacy is equally important like the other things. So it is our 4 pillars of sustainable economy. And now, is it clear? Hello?
Yes. Yes, of
Professor.
course. Don't worry.
Is okay?
Yeah.
Yes, it's okay.
Yes, our students.
Yes.
Yes, okay. Our students.
Do you understand my English?
Students.
Yes, we understand.
Yes, we understand it.
Yeah.
Okay. You know, it's not my mother tongue. It's not my first language. I learned it when I was a child, but my first language is something different. And I'm confused also because I learned too many languages, a little here and there, and I mix up. Please forgive me for my English if it is not clear sometimes.
Don't be ashamed. Your English is beautiful. Don't
All
worry,
right.
Professor.
Now let's have a 5-minute break, and I go to get another cup of tea, and I'll be just right back here, okay?
Yes, we will have a 5 minutes break, and after that we will have about half an hour for the finish election, and after that we will have a time for questions. Okay?
Please repeat again. Now 5-minute break.
Now is a break, 5 minutes. Please don't go out from our chat.
No,
You may only switch off your camera and microphone. Yeah.
Okay.
Through the 5 minutes, we will have a half an hour to finish your lections, and after we will have 10 minutes for the questions.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Тогда сейчас перерыв 5 минут, не выходите из чата, и потом он продолжит. Спасибо, 5 минут. Всем понятно, да?
Да, всем все
Варнавский.
понятно.
Всё, спасибо, 5 минут перерыв. Спасибо. Ну так вообще лекция понятна, все как бы?
Да.
Да, интересно.
Да.
Да, и будет, да, пожалуйста, потом вопросы позадавайте ему, потому что человек как бы переживает о том, что он тоже первый раз читает в таком формате, поэтому старается, поэтому потом вопросы сформулируйте там короткие, буквально там на понимание. Хорошо?
Хорошо.
Спасибо. Перерыв. Hello, Professor.
Yeah. So here we go. Now, how we define how the, no place in the world, when we talk about local development, we have to understand it's also regional. You may call it also regional development. I mean, it's the same. An area, you specify an area, a territory, communities that are in that territory, and you want them to be developed, their capacity improved, their way of. But how you define local? Actually, this is very important to understand. Where are the range of action and the range of effect? Now, the local, here now we have it. Usually, our concept of the geographical economic situation is that we have the center and the periphery. Everybody believed the big town, Moscow, Rome, Milan, Berlin, Frankfurt, these are the urban areas as where the economic decision take place, where most of the transactions, trade take place, where most of the money, wealth is concentrated, and from where it goes other places. Now, these places are considered to be the center. And then others are periphery, center and periphery. Our vision of local development, regional development is biased by this center periphery idea everywhere in the world. But the situation is very different actually. Actually, what we call center is the outer rim. I call it rimland. If you look carefully, the most important economic decision centers, the places where in the urban industrial big transactions, trade, and where there's a concentration of population, how are these places? Where are they? They are usually on the flat land, lowlands, not in the highlands. They are usually close to the waterway, sea, or a big river. They usually have a milder and, let's say, more relatively kind climate, not extreme, like the Mongolia or Siberia. So it is. These are what we somehow even in a small island. Let's take for example Taiwan, or Sicily, or Sardinia, or Corsica in Europe. Taiwan is a very good example. I have been there several times, and it is in every continent or in every even a small island. It is the outer border, the outer rim that is more where we call the red hot zone, where the more people are concentrated, where the urbanity is concentrated, where the money is concentrated, where the industries are located. So it is I call it rimland. So it is the way of looking at the geopolitics from the economic point of view. So it is the rimland, it is the outer world actually, where people mix up. And then you have a hinterland. Just more in the interior, you have the rural agricultural interior. That is supply zone actually. The zone that supplies you egg, chicken, cotton, wood, manpower also. People from the rural area, they flock. From the hinterland, they flock to the rimland as a seasonal worker or permanent migrants. So this is the picture everywhere. And then even farther inside an island or a continent, you have, I call it heartland, the extreme lands. The extreme lands, mountains, tundra, taiga, steppe, desert, deep savanna, jungle. Now these are the heartland, the extreme lands. So we have the rimlands, the urbo-industrial mainstream area. We have the hinterland, the rural agricultural interior, and we have the heartland, the extreme land. So in the rimland is now all over the world, the global human population is concentrated on the rimland. More than 50% are there. It is the most densely, and this area doesn't produce much. It sucks. it draws the resources, water, food, construction material, mineral resources, material resources, human resources, food resources. These are all drained from the hinterland or from the extreme land. So you have, if we were a big drone, if we were a flying carpet and we were hovering around continents and islands, you would see the traffic is the green traffic. The green goes to the outer area, to the rimland, the resources. The black goes to the interior. So the west is dumped inside. Nobody wants the dumping site near the big town. The big town, they can decide to make the dumping site or incinerator or the burning place where they burn the waste, because there's so much waste is produced in the rimland. Every person is producing tons of plastic and non-material and other materials that are non-biodegradable, that the earth cannot digest easily. So you have to dump that somewhere. So the dumping goes more to interior. The resource goes more to the outside. This is the global picture. And even the worst kind of waste, the most dangerous waste, the hazardous waste, like spent nuclear fuel or medical waste, toxic waste, industrial waste, chemical, the dangerous waste are thrown in more to the heartland. More heartland, there are few people, they protest, no problem, you just can kick them. No, you cannot, you just can neglect them. And the heartland is very little populated, it's vast, and this is how is the current geoeconomic situation. And this is what is the picture of the non-sustainable global economy. And so where are you as a local, when you have to plan our regional planning? Where are we here? Are we in the rimland? Are we on the border between rimland and hinterland? Or are we in the heartland? I worked in Mongolia for several times, in Armenia, in Himalaya, in Peru, and the Andes, in the Himalayas, in the Southern Caucasus, and the Mongolian steppe, and I could realize that the development, and my job was to help them in the local rural development. Then if this process is so strong, it's so difficult to manage. At the end, everybody will go from the heartland. The hinterland will be poor culturally. Heartland will be poor demographically and culturally. It's every year it's more poor, it's poorer, and everything is being deposited to rimland, the resource, and the west is going always to the interior. Now, this is an unsustainable picture of the world, of the globe. And now, here, if we have to think, where are we? And so our development planning must have an axis, an idea. For example, if we are in a town that is close to the heartland, but also close to the hinterland, but we are already a big town, let's say Taganrog or Rostov or any other town, like also where I live. I live in a hinterland, actually. I live in the rural area of near the mountain. Actually, my position would be, my current position where I'm talking you from is on the border between heartland and hinterland. Now, so if I have to think about the local development planning in this area, I must consider what is being drained, what is being dumped, and how can I prevent or make a kind of compromise or make a dialogue and make a planning that suits me best. So this is the first thing to understand in local development planning. And this always, mostly people forget about that. And the second thing, this is a practical aspect. Before we were more on the theoretical aspect, now it's more and more practical aspect. Again here, after that, thing comes the economy. How is the local economic life? The local economic life as it is lived by the people, that is, by what are the problems, trends, and issues? What do the people talk about? Unemployment, industrial decline, or agricultural production problem, or the problem of irrigation for agriculture. So these are more obvious issues, obvious and over the board issues. We call them contingencies and emergencies. Now, right now, we're in emergency, pandemics, epidemics. This emergency is visible to everybody. We are all suffering from it. Contingencies are not immediate big shock, but they are current persistent problems, like unemployment, chronic unemployment, or like the sloth of the market, or like crime or delinquency. So you have different contingencies and sometimes emergencies. So these emergency and contingency are above what you call the threshold of obvious. This is the economic life as we live. And this is what we have to understand, the problems, trends, and issues. So you have to start from the issue scanning, problem scanning, trend scanning, before making any plan of a local development. So this economic life as lived. And then there's a line, it's like an iceberg. And that's the part of the iceberg that you can see, contingency and emergency. But below that, the line you don't see. What caused that contingency? Why this emergency happens here? There are structures and components. They are not visible. It's like the submerged part of the iceberg. There are the factors. There are institutions that doesn't work properly, or they are not accountable, or they are careless or incompetent. There are actors who do certain things. So these factors, institutions, actors. Actor means our business company is the actor. Consumers are actors. The consumer behavior is the actors, factors. So we have to understand. Now, for example, let me give you an example about this. Example makes it clear. Here in northern Italy, when I go to the universities, 60 kilometers from here, that is in the industrial area, in the out periphery, 30 kilometers from Milan, is the industrial. It's the Rimland. I go to the Rimland 2 times a week to teach, sometimes even less. And now my shuttling every day by car. Why? And then when I'm in my area, it's okay. But after half the way, I'm there near the urban area, I start getting traffic jam and noise and problem. People are nervous. There are too many cars on the road. Sometimes you are bottled and you have to wait even 20 minutes or half an hour. So there is also a risk of accident. Now, this contingency, the traffic jam or the traffic congestion, this contingency, which is an issue, which is obvious, but behind that, there are structural components. There's an actor like me who is commuting, who is not a local person, but comes with the drive with his car. And there are many others maybe doing the similar things. And there's already local people already moving for their work. So actors. And there's institutions. The local governments of the area, they never bothered about the biking lane or the walking path or the alternative non-motorized way for the local small scale movement of the people. So the people from even only 5 kilometer distance, they have to take the car because there's no other way. There's no bike lane like in the Netherlands. They have it in the Netherlands. People could commute by bike in the Netherlands, but in Italy, no, it's not possible. They had their whole planning has been only motor centered, motor car centered. The same is in Russia. So in the local planning, infrastructure planning, the non-motorized complement has not been missing. Here, biking means recreation. Walking means enjoyment. Why walking and biking cannot be also a normal way of moving people in the small scale, in a small ranch, going to the post office, going to school, going to work, so going to the factory. This is the institutional weakness. So actors like me, institutions that don't let the actor be free. I have no choice. I cannot go by train. If I have to go by train, I have to change in 3 places, and it takes me 3 hours. While by driving 55 minutes, I'm there. And while coming back home, I may not have even the train. I get stranded somewhere halfway, and because there is no last connection timetable of the bus to last connection to come to my home. So here you see these structures and components are not visible, but the traffic jam is visible. Everybody can see, oh, there is traffic jam. Oh, there's a traffic problem. Oh, there's accident problem. There's a road problem, traffic problem. But behind the traffic problem, there are so this is like that in everything. So every trend should lead you, every issue should lead you to what are the corresponding structures, what are the corresponding habits of the actors, what are the components that cause that. So this is not economic life as lived. This is the economic life as analyzed. So you have to start with as lived and you have to go to the analyzed. Understand? And then now these structures and components. Let's continue with the traffic jam, with the traffic problem of the northern Italy. Now this structural component, the behavior of the actors, the motor-centered planning of the institutions, transport planning of the institutions, the climate factors is cold in the winter, and you have to be in a heated car, of course. Otherwise, how do you go? And then so, or it may rain. So biking is not always. It rains a lot here, and biking may not be always feasible. So there are factors, institutions, and actors, structures, and components of the reality that is not visible at the first glance, but now. Leave aside the factors which are sporadic, and they are not only the decision factor. The most decisive element are the institutions and actors, how the transport has been planned, and how are the actors, the people who move, the movers. Now, if the infrastructure planners, the transport planners, and if the people, consumers, citizens, they think that car is beautiful thing, it's like a beautiful dress. A car is the status symbol. If I have a beautiful, a big car, then people respect me more. I'm more important. And it's freedom. And if this is the value, and if that is the model of life is going by car everywhere, these values and model are even less visible. They're even less visible than the structure and component. So you see, you start with a traffic problem, and it takes you to the paradigm, to the values, the most invisible psychocultural element, values and model. This is what we have to understand before planning. We have to start with the economy as lived, and then we have to analyze the economic system. So core of the system, like in the iceberg, the outer part is more easily melt. It melts more easily. It changes. It's more changeable. The inner parts, the second part, structure component, less changeable, more inert, more permanent. You have to make a big effort to change it. More new policies you need, new thinking you need, and even core of it is the values. What is important? What are the model of personality, life, behavior, prestige, respect, status symbol? So this even less difficult, is more difficult to understand and less easy to change. So at the end of the story, our traffic jam or the transportation problem is connected with so many things. Is it clear?
Yes, of course.
Yes, Professor, yes.
So this is the model. So if you're a planner, you start with this iceberg model of analysis. So if you make a local regional development planning, you do, and then you start with that. So you have to have in the mind all those things, and then start go there. Now let's go. Even more practical. We're going to more and more practical now. Now project design. I have met, I was done in a hurry, so sorry. Let me. Okay, let's design. Local level. Okay, sustainable development project design at local level. Okay, now how you, those things are how you do it. Now this slide should have been. Yeah, this comes later. Okay, this right here. So the first thing that you do, there are some steps, very practical step. And I call the applied research in collaboration with the local stakeholders. For example, in Taganrog or Rostov or even here, I have done some planning. So we know who are the local stakeholders. First of all, the entrepreneurs, but also institutions. I would say institutions and entrepreneurs. Institutions and entrepreneurs. First of all, the public, local government and the local business. They are very important. They are the most important stakeholders. So with them, we have to do. So our research for our designing economy, economic development at the local level must have to do with these people. So while we start with them, together with them, many things. But before we do something on our own, they are not intellectually skilled. They don't have time. So what we have to do as a planners or our planning consultants, we have to do first the field, I call it pre-critical field survey. That is, you just be there for some time, 1 week, sure, how much time you can allow yourself. Even at least a couple of weeks, you must be there before even making any category. You just read something about the place, see the map, look at the basic statistics, but be there. I call it get soaked by the rain of reality. You should get wet by the reality. Your body must get, the reality must rain on you. Not you inquire first, I want to understand you, you. This context, I want to look, what is there? What's going on here? This is very arrogant, and you don't really observe the local problems. So what I call it a pre-critical survey is having a basic briefing, some idea, knowledge, mapping, basic knowledge, profiling, and then be there. And this is all what you call pre-critical survey. So learning about the place that you have to plan and being there for some time, immersion in the habitat, with the community, with their value systems, with their day-to-day business. This nexus, there's a full immersion. It's a get soaked by the rain of reality. That's how I do, and it works. And then the second thing is more critical documentary survey. Then you do in the pre-critical survey, you make the basic documentation, profiling, basic statistics, basic political information, basic economic information, social information. But here you go to more targeted documentation, collection and analysis of hard data, selected data. What do you need? What sector you are understanding? What kind of reality is there about the local habitat, that is landscape, business, physical structure, about the community, demographics. There are hard data, numbers. Understanding the numbers. You have to understand, you have to manage the numbers. The quantified information, very important. But it's second level, not the first level. And then first level is the basic quantified information, but more qualified information, more qualitative information. Second level is more quantitative information. Because after the first level, you are more ready to target and look, and a mining, you can, is a data mining becomes much effective, more selective. So about habitat, environment, landscape, infrastructures, community, demographics, basic demographics, and even targeted demographics, market demographics, consumers, are buyers, sellers, employers, employed. So there are many things that it is about the community, working community, a business community, overall community, and then business organizations, productive activities, trading, transactions. So collection and elaboration. After you have done the hard data, collection and elaboration of soft data, very important. Soft data mining is more difficult than hard data. Hard data are available. Everybody produces the hard data, not always useful. And sometimes they trick, like the Chinese. The Chinese government's data are not reliable to me. Their data is always doctoring data. They are very skillful, very creative about that. even about these epidemics. Their data is not reliable at all for me. So I've been there several times and I know how they work on the data. So hard data is not always reliable because of the source, because of the political motivation to show certain kind of data. So soft data is much difficult to mine, much difficult to collect, but you must collect that too, like the values, what is more important in the society. When you come to Milano, you immediately realize that these people, that for them is very important. Fashion, to look nice, to good appearance is very important. To have the more, and then historical sketch, how this place came to be like as it is now. It's past, it's historical dynamics. And then you have to also collect some narrative items. Narrative item means some basic stories, a story of a business, a story of the place, some stories that people talk, or listen, local listen. You know, this secular local listen, the way of saying of the they has a very big scientific value, but I call them soft data. They are not hard data. So we have to combine a lot of hard data with some soft data. This is what we should do. The second step. And the third step is again back to the field, more critical, more targeted, more in-depth inquiry, interviews, opinion survey, observation, direct observation, and collaborative focus. And in this, you need their help. The local, here is where you meet them, the planners, local stakeholders, the entrepreneurs and institutions. The first two, you do it alone, and you become ready for the third step. The third step you do together with them, so that your understanding, your insight, and their insight are combined. And then you can make a better interpretation, synthesis of all findings and sharing, and synthesis with the local stakeholders. And it becomes more collaborative. From here onwards, the process becomes more collaborative. From here, before, the process is more intellectual. Here it becomes more collaborative, more strategic. And ignite a comprehensive dialogue. It's a dialogue. And then you make a collaborative foresight exercise. And this this is a very special thing. Usually in the PhD or master level, we teach that in the business school. I introduced this in Italy, they were not doing, but in Russia they do it. Some people do it in St. Petersburg, in Moscow. Once I was invited for a conference called Distant Light Forum. It was in Moscow, 2009. And we did some collaborative foresight scenario planning, trying to guess what could be the next 20 years or next 15 years. Which trend could emerge more? So it's a collaborative foresight exercise, but be careful. It's not forecast, it's foresight. There's a difference between forecast and foresight. Forecast is linear. It will be like this. It's a prediction. But foresight is feeling. It's a share of intuition and feeling, impressions and feelings put together. It's not scientific, but it's useful. It's helpful. But when you do it with the local stakeholders who know the reality better, and you have done a more cold and objective study, they are more subjectively involved. So together, when you do the foresight exercise, it comes better picture of the future. And this is what you call scenario planning. Planning scenarios, different possibilities of the future, the alternative image of the future. And after that, you decide which is the most plausible, possible, realistic, and at the same time doable scenario. And then you make a strategy. And that strategy is what you call the roadmap to sustainable local development. Roadmap to sustainability. These are the very practical steps. Is it clear?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, Professor. Yes, we have about 10 minutes for the questions.
Yeah, just a moment. Just give me, please allow me 5 minutes before I take the questions, okay?
Okay. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, my tea got cold. I need to get some warmer tea.
Сейчас, пока профессор идет за чаем, подготовьте вопросы, пожалуйста, и 3, 4, 5 вопросов, чтобы мы тогда послушали. Коротко на понимание. Хорошо?
Хорошо.
Если есть возможность, да, если есть возможность у вас во время задавания вопросов включить камеру, пожалуйста, делайте это тоже. Если есть, значит, так. Ну, желательно с камерой, конечно, чтобы профессор видел, что он с живыми людьми общается, с живыми русскими людьми, понимающими английский язык. Хорошо?
Хорошо.
Все, тогда ждем мы. Сейчас он подойдет и начнем задавать вопросы. Да, и пока профессор идет тоже, я напомню, что я записал эту лекцию, потом она будет у вас находиться в вашей группе, вы сможете, соответственно, ее пересмотреть, для того, чтобы потом использовать уже в дальнейшей своей работе, при подготовке к экзамену или к зачету, презентациям, так что это все у вас будет. И я еще его презентацию в группе тоже размещу, вот этой первой лекции, и я тогда тоже у вас, она сегодня или завтра появится в группе. Кто будет первый вопрос задавать? Определились?
Ну, давайте я задам.
Хорошо. Манжика, потом Полалеева. Вы будете задать вопрос, как староста?
Я не смогу включить камеру, и мне не здоровится немного.
Хорошо. Верба. Мария Михайловна.
Ну, я пока вопросы не придумала. Можно я еще подумаю?
Конечно, подумайте, потому что вы-то точно английский знаете. Я слышал, по крайней мере.
Еще.
Да, хорошо. Так, тогда начинаем тогда мы, соответственно, с Данары Александровны. Остальные-то, Мавсисян, вы как, созрели? Дмитрий Георгиевич.
К сожалению, не совсем.
Ну ладно. Okay, professors, now we have a part of our lection about the questions, and our students wants to ask you some questions. Are you ready to answer us?
Yeah. I'm ready. I'm just taking some pencil so that if I forget something, I have to write. Okay, yeah, please,
Okay.
please, questions and answers now.
Yes, who was the first? Please ask the question.
Hello. I want to ask you.
I need to see your face.
Yeah.
Please turn on the camera if you possible.
Do you see me?
What is your name?
My name is Danara.
Where are you from?
I'm from Russia,
Okay.
from Kalmykia Republic.
Please, your question?
What are the barriers towards achieving sustainable local development?
Excuse me, repeat again.
What are the barriers towards achieving sustainable
What
local
are
development?
the, I missed first.
Barriers. What is the barriers for achievement of
barriers?
sustainable wealth?
Barriers. Okay, okay, I got it now. Sorry, I didn't understand. Because my hearing is not good, and maybe also your pronunciation is difficult. But anyway, you know, there are many barriers. The most important barrier, I believe, is the people's participation. When the development is done only by the from top to bottom, when only the business and when only the government decide to develop, it doesn't involve the business, or doesn't involve the consumers, or doesn't involve the common people. If there's no, if people don't feel it is my process, if they don't own the process, this is the most big barrier in development. Development becomes unsustainable, even if it works sometimes. We have a massive quantity of injection of cash or a lot of technical facilities, but still doesn't work in the long term. And then so the real barrier is the people's participation. The first barrier. But there are also many other barriers, of course. The barriers can be also factors, local factors, like if the terrain is very difficult, very mountainous, then it's a barrier. And if the climate is too harsh, it is a barrier. But apart from those natural barriers, which of course you have to plan according to what you have, that depends on you. But the main barrier is, I believe, is the people's participation. For people's participation, the moral legitimacy is very important. And at the same time, it is also important that how they are well informed about the development process. And what's going on here, what is going to be done here. We're going to make this road. Have you consulted the people? Now here, I give you an example, very concrete. 60 kilometers from my home toward the Alps, and a little bit more southwest from my town, always in the Alps, there is another valley called Val di Susa. My valley is called Valsesia. That is Val di Susa. And Val di Susa is closer to Turin, the city of Torino. And then there was a big plan, there is still a plan, to make a tunnel in the Alps to connect city of Turin with the French town of Lyon. Turin-Lyon connection, railway connection, high-speed connection of a railway. And so they had to make a big tunnel there in that mountain. Now, the local people, when they started working, and there was money, European Union was providing, Italian government was providing, French government was providing, they had money. Technically, they are very expert. They have best engineers. Italian engineers are very good, especially in the mountain terrain. They are the best. But people objected. There was a barricade. There was a show. There was also, they throw stones. Police had to intervene. A lot of trouble. At the end of the story, it is not going anywhere. It's blocked. Since 10 years, they are doing no improvement, no advancement in their work, because the people's participation, people's opposition is very clear example. But this is a big example. There are some very small examples also. It is how you involve them right from the beginning of your vision of the area. When you make scenario with the local business, with the local people, local stakeholders, and then there must be a participation right from the designing phase. Otherwise, people don't own. It's not their development. It's the government's development. Oh, it is that big industry coming here. Oh, the alien development doesn't work. So, the most strong barrier for me is the people's participation. Is it clear to you?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Professor. Any other questions, please? Thank you, Donara.
Anybody? Any other question?
I would like to ask a question.
Again, the face is necessary.
Okay, so I'll show my face.
Please turn on your camera.
Do you see me?
I see you now.
Yes. Now, yes.
Yes.
Now, yes.
Okay, so I would like to ask you, why do you think we should live in rural areas? If you said that Rimland, like urban areas, in Rimland and urban areas, is concentrates a lot of money and resources and people in general. So in Rimland, people can develop themselves more quickly than urban areas. And if you think that rural areas, and you said that rural areas are on the board of resources and waste, and on the board of Rimland. Why do you think is it better to live in rural areas?
You misunderstood. I didn't say where it is better to live. I didn't give any judgment. Mine was only analysis. It was not a judgment. It is your choice. It is up to you where you want to live. I choose to live in a very rural area near the mountain, just on the hills. That's my choice. Because I believe that my personal capacity and my personal freedom is safer here. It is my test. It's not a principle. It's not a principle that I'm teaching. I'm just only giving you this example. It is up to you. Now, if I would live in Milan, that's 100 kilometers from here, I would have more consultancy. Of course, I would make more money. I would have more time, more party, more receptions, more meeting, more people know me, more familiarity. I would make a bucket of money. But what is more important for me is personal freedom. Here I go to walk on the hill. I'm in the forest. In the winter I ski. I don't have to drive a lot. And I can eat the eggs from the local farmer. I drink better wine. I eat better food. I have less money than if I would live in. But this is personal choice. It's a personal choice. I'm not telling as a principle you should do that. I just give you the analysis. The world is like that. There's the rimland, there's the hinterland, and there's the heartland. And the rimland has more money, but it also produces more waste. And the hinterland has more resources, but no money. It has material resources, food resources. And then how it goes one way or the other. I only give you a picture that is the reality. I made you analysis. I didn't give you a judgment. I didn't tell you where it is better to live. For you, it can be a big town. For me, this little village under the Alps. It is personal choice. And where you feel more safe, where you feel better. It is up to personal choice. What is more important in your life? More money, bigger car, or more peace, more silence? And in the morning when you wake up, you want to hear motor cars running under your road, the noise of the motor machine, or you want to open the window and the chip chip of the birds? What do you want to hear when you wake up?
I would like to combine so peaceful and money.
Not easy.
Okay, so maybe nearby urban states like Moscow,
if you're lucky, some mid-sized town, beautiful town, well planned. Maybe you should plan a nice town, and then you live in that. Okay, listen. Let's not go into personal judgment or personal choice. Let's analyze the reality, how it is. How are the context, economic context? The rimland is an economic context. The hinterland is another economic context. The heartland is another economic context. And they're connected through the flow of resources and through the flow of people and through the flow of the West. So there's a connection. So we have to understand the reality. But then in the personal level, it's question of judgment, question of choice, question of your character, your nature, your temperament. There are many things. I have lived in big cities before. I lived in London. My daughter was educated in London. I lived in Kathmandu, capital city. I lived for many months in Taipei, a big, very modern, very smart town in Taiwan, capital of Taiwan. For some short period, I lived in Beijing, Shanghai, New York, Chicago, Seattle, San Francisco. I know big cities. I've been there. I could live there. It was my choice to retreat here under the Alps. It's a personal thing.
Oh,
But-
I see this. Thank you.
All right.
Thank
Another question?
you. Thank you. Yes, thank you, Professor. I suppose too many questions from our students, but unfortunately we have no time because the students have the next lection after yours. But it is not the final meeting with our professor because we will have 3 meetings with him. Today was the first meeting, and I suppose during the April and May we will have another 2 meetings. Yes, Professor?
Yes. Yeah, I think here in the local development planning, there are some examples that I wanted to give you, but now there's no time for that. There was one was of how we did in Armenia, a case study. It was a case study, and then that was what I was a planner. I helped the local government to plan an area in the north of Armenia. And then there are other cases also here in Italy. I was involved in the planning of a small town, a touristic town. But next time we can make these examples clear, and also the example of Venezuela. I worked there for some time, but you can distribute the slides, and maybe the next time when we meet we can discuss about that. And for now, yeah, we can think and fix another appointment another morning, whenever you want. I'm here. We are all blocked here. We cannot move, so there's no chance not to be again.
Okay. Thank you, Professor. From your permission, I sent your presentation to our students, and if they will have questions, they wrote me, and I'll transfer this question to you.
Yes.
The next.
Yes. Yeah, please send, give them the slides, but give them the PDF format, the slides, because slides are not complete.
Okay.
And then also the lecture note is very important. The lecture note, I'll send you. There are some mistake I correct. I'll send you within today, and then maybe tomorrow or even today itself, you can distribute to them. Okay?
Yeah. We really appreciate to have a meeting with you. It was really good, honest for us. And we are really glad. Thank you too much for your presentation. Thank you too much for your election. And we are waiting your next election. I suppose maybe through the 2 weeks, we will organize with you this process.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Спасибо всем. Тогда отключаемся. Я сообщу до следующей лекции. Спасибо. Презентацию выложу и видео. Спасибо. Что?